So I got this message on WhatsApp from a friend of mine's. They said, hey, you must check out this video. It's on a growing phenomenon. Well, I used that word myself. They pretty much just said, look, check out this video on the fact that men are deciding to socialize less and kind of backing away from some of the everyday aspects of social activities, and they're doing their own thing in a more solitary, chilled, harming nobody way. So it piqued my interest, and it also reminded me of some of what I've seen over the years on social media and on podcasts, like the Red Pill, Manosphere movements, and the stories you hear about men pretty much following whoever they can find to use as a example and role model, in the fact that men are having to kind of redefine themselves in this digital era. And this covers and crosses all sways of the culture, everyday life. Although we look at it from a Western point of view, you look at the developing countries, Africa, Asia, India, Eastern Europe, and the whole thing is being redefined in terms of men, their role in society, how we see ourselves, and where the future seems to be going. I mean, we've just come out of, I hope we're coming out of a extremely confusing and woke period of time. I could be doing a video on this whole woke mind virus, which I think is a term coined by Elon Musk. And go into it a little further. So you've had the toxic masculinity campaign on social and legacy news media. That's kind of, say it's gone through its stages, and they got the saying, you go woke, you go broke. You say it's experienced that type of treatment from what I've observed. Coming back to this idea of men choosing to just do their own thing, avoid what used to be a normal way of interacting, going out to party, the whole dating process, which now has also been largely digitalized, for better or worse. And also the fact that the feminist thing is and was inevitable. It's gone through many stages as well. First stage, second stage, third stage, feminism. And much as that was necessary and is necessary, the drawback has been, there's been a kind of ignoring of men, boys, the role of men in society, a sort of like belittling thing. You can crack a joke in cartoons, a lot of soaps and movies. Homer Simpson, the guy's the butt of the joke. So the way maleness is being portrayed in our modern society, you can see why it's kind of led to this sort of reaction. So this guy's taken the time to look into this matter and check out this video.
No, it is not just you. Men don't want to socialise anymore. And who can blame them? Because since 2020, the whole socialising scene and just socialising with people, other people in general, has been a complete disaster. Men would rather spend time with themselves, with their own company, if they are married and they do have a girlfriend, with their partners, pets, and very, very, very close family or one other person. in general.
I see why.
Socializing, especially nowadays, is and feels extremely draining. What used to be something so exciting, what used to be something so exhilarating, what used to have a real good anxious feeling about it.
Look, many have said chivalry is dead, it's gone, it's behind us. And there's been this back and forth between both genders, males and females. You'll hear it on podcasts to partition blame as to who's at fault for that. Well, that's for another debate.
When there was a big social event coming, now it's just so draining. I dread when people invite me out to places and then I think of my excuses and I decide not to go. It's nothing against the people sometimes, it's just the whole act of going out. Maybe I've got older, maybe because I live in the UK and in London. London's not the greatest place to be in at the moment, but it's draining.
Look,
you have to travel
another
somewhere.
thing, men's mental health and even physical health, you put the two things together, has been laughed at in some cases when some guys have tried to highlight that there's stuff going on and create campaigns. You'll see later on, I'm going to show you a British MP and how she reacted to just the idea of someone calling for men's rights to be looked at more seriously, matching the needs of our era.
You have to sacrifice a precious evening or day. You have to put on a smile. You have to make an effort. And it's just not worth it anymore. I'm sure others feel the same. But men, as they get older and hopefully wiser, they start to recognize and realize how precious their time is. Would they rather literally be sat at home, curled up with a good book, watching or listening to a good podcast, or just being with their kids if they have them, or again, a girlfriend or wife? Would they rather...
See, I get it. A lot of guys think, why make the effort? I can do my own thing, enjoy my own company, and just kick back and chill for a moment.
Get on a train, drive for hours, and socialize with people they don't really know anymore. Be around the general public, which, let's face it, the general public is a complete disgrace nowadays. And also spend money, considering we're in a cost of living crisis and drinks are so inflated, right. Food is so inflated, that it's cheaper to get from your supermarket or produce it yourself. It has now become a chore. It's draining. It's not about the act of having fun with friends or people. It is just so exhausting. And here's the other thing as well. Most people, and I don't know what's happened now, have become shallow and extremely dull and boring. I'm not saying I'm the most exciting person, and I'm not saying that from an elitist point of view, but people are really shallow. When you go out nowadays and do socialize as a man, it's all about what that other person is up to, how much money they're making in their job in general, which is a very boring subject.
Your value.
And the house they're buying, the car, materialistic things. And they're also boring because they're monotone, they're dull, they don't really bring anything interesting to the table. There's no education there. There's no exciting topic. There's no energy. This could be applied to women as well. When was the last...
On the woman's front, with this era of the main character, it's hard to find balance in a traditional way when people would just communicate in a light, back and forth, shared moment type of interaction. Now, everyone has to be that main character, and the whole interaction is like a contest of me first.
Shallow and superficial and fake.
I mean, this subject really gets me going, and I don't want to rant. So we'll go through these clips and see what you get from it.
Boring. Literally, you sit next to these people at dinner parties, or you're sat next to them at weddings and events or whatever, and you want to shoot yourself because you are so exhausted by the monotone voices and the nonsense and drivel slithering out of their mouths. But that's the thing. Even if it's friends especially, friendships don't seem the same anymore to men. Friendships feel so fake and transactional. I did a video not long ago about when they need you versus when you need them. That's what's going on now. You need these people when you're in a crisis, when life's got you down. You don't hear from these people anymore. And these people are fake. They just want to compare themselves to you. They want to...
So listen, the link to this video is going to be in the description. So I'm going to cut through to the end because there's a few other stories we're going to touch on, covering the same subject.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell notification so you don't miss...
Okay, this dude's got some good points. Well worth listening to. Now, this is a podcast a lot of you might be familiar with. They, to some, are an acquired taste. For the younger dudes and a certain type of logical, critical thinking type, male and female, you know, they're quite digestible. For many others, they're blunt, and some of the truths are quite painful if you've never heard this perspective.
They start talking to you and making you feel belittled instead of trying to uplift you.
Well, why are you competing with your men in an arena that you're not supposed to be competing?
There's no competition. I'm just saying, when you get with a woman that also is just like an entrepreneur, or she has like dreams for herself.
Yeah, but do you think...
And also...
Hold on. Do you think men care about that? Realistically speaking.
Now, these are some of the reasons. Maybe, I'm just putting it out there, why men are deciding, you know, I can't be bothered with all of that effort all the time. Let me just kick back, do me for a bit, and resurface when my energy levels are back up. And there's nothing wrong with that. A guy chilling out, occupying himself with something productive. Although, speaking for most males, you know, we work a lot. That's a big thing. That's where we get a lot of our drive and motivation from. And income that no one's going to earn for us. Continue.
Do you think men care about your personal success?
That's why...
No, men are supposed to lead. We never got back to where, like...
I don't know. I've met men that
Sounds
really,
good.
that's actually what they've been attracted to.
Let me be blunt about this. We don't give a shit about your title, your education, or your career. We don't at all. We really don't give a fuck. And some guys might lie in the beginning and say, oh, that's so cool.
They all suck.
But they don't care. Like, you can't, like... Because girls love to flex their education and their status. And it's like, okay, that's like me. What if I told you I got 30 pairs of Jordans in my closet? What would you say to that?
Amazing.
You care?
Come on, bro.
You care about it, then I should care about it.
Yeah, but do you actually?
Why? That's not true.
No.
Okay, that's how we feel about your career. Anyway, what were you going to say?
Well, I was going to say, we never came back to the insecurity thing on my, like when I dated, the insecurities.
Resources, assets, physical height, and a few other key points. That's what 2024, a lot of modern day females care about. Nothing wrong with that.
And that's like, we hit them, and then the topic just went. But I know that...
Well, you didn't say that.
I mean, the fact that it's almost commonly known that most men these days, from one age to another, are largely invisible in society. Unless you're in that minuscule percentage that most females are all reaching for. Again, common fact. Taking the stats from dating apps, most women go for the same 10, if not a smaller percentage of dudes. So all the other dudes, well, it ain't that easy. And that's causing change in behaviors and some challenges for many guys. And it's now, I think, got to a point that just like feminists, there is a need for certain, sometimes movements, just to give the guy a direction to look in when they feel they need that external direction.
That one I asked earlier.
We never got back to me.
You guys said we're thinking, and you guys couldn't come up with anything.
No, well, she went, and then she went on her tangent on the A and B. And
no, because I literally asked twice. Give me an example of how men are insecure, and neither of you can really come with an example. And then she came with one kind of with the
well,
competing.
When she kind of.
You don't agree with what I want you to agree with, so you must be insecure.
That's when I was like, oh, okay. I was like, well, I know that because with my ex of 8 years, I know that it came from the faults that I had in the relationship, and I had my indiscretions, and that's where like the trust was broken, and you really can't come back from that.
Okay, so how was he insecure then?
You said it was your insecurities that made him insecure?
All right, because when you were saying earlier with them.
You see, I'm not saying that there still isn't a lot of fun and enjoyment to be had out there in the world at large, socializing, interacting, particularly amongst the genders. For the more mature, older dudes, I think, they're learning to enjoy their own interests, their own company, their own time, and they're less keen to dig into their pockets and energy reserves and trade off whatever, the cost of the interaction is for the little they get back at times. They can be whatever you want to call it in their own space without having to go and recruit external company. So I understand. I'm not saying that human interaction still isn't how we're hardwired and isn't healthy and essential. I understand why this trend is taking place with guys starting to back off from the whole socializing thing and occupying themselves in a more solitary yet still positive manner.
You do understand that, like when we were having the discussion before, it was about men being insecure, and you were in agreement with them that men are insecure. Yeah. And then I said, can you guys give me an example? She gave a few with talking to her man or talking to customers and the way she dresses. She gave men want to compete, and then you couldn't give me one. So that's why.
Yeah, we never.
Okay, so
yeah, you said, and you're saying it was your insecurities?
No, not my insecurities. Like I know that the insecurities came from me and from my mistakes, and then the mistakes that I made. Like, I guess in his eyes, they were never like really forgivable because he never really on.
Okay.
He said he forgave me, but then it would end up being like him taking things out on me and then him being mean and aggressive, and that was and
also something to break the boundary or trust.
So it's like kind of like what.
All right. So you're not in agreement with them then that men are insecure. Even though you were,
I don't think all men are insecure.
I retract.
I think some men. I've been with very secure men that have no.
The hive mind. We're going to look at in some of the videos later on this thing about, you should open up, because there's this whole drive to feminize men in the era we're in now, and there's this whole testosterone issue where it's like low levels of testosterone, and that leads to a different type of behavior, and that being promoted and embraced. And the tricky thing is when it starts to go against the way we're built and wired to survive in many cases, and what's worked for thousands of years. Men should be more emotional with their partners, so they cry in front of their female partner. And I have to say, I fall on the side of, nah, you got to be emotional, be that way amongst your male friends, in your own company, or some male companion that's relatable. Because the problem is the back and forth that goes on, even within a loving couple, that emotional vulnerability you're showing at some point might come back and bite you in the behind, and that will be thrown back at you as ammunition, potentially. And secondly, it doesn't create the image that really motivates most women to be drawn towards you. Even though it might be said, oh, yeah, it's very attractive. My man's, emotional. He cries when he feels, he's got to express something and it's not healthy to hold it in. That's all great on paper. In practice, you get the contradiction that same person who's going to be wanting to see that side of you in a more natural way, they're going to be reacting how they've hardwired to react. And it's like, that ain't very leadership-like, that ain't very strong, and to take on that traditional male role in a relationship, there's a few behaviors that I think still need to be tempered, 2024 or not.
But you do see that the argument that I'm making, I don't think that's insecurity. Like telling a girl how to dress, how she communicates with customers, etc. I look at that as nothing more than a code of conduct. Like, look, let me of say this in a way that would make more sense. When you get with a man, you basically become the employee. Now, I know a lot of women don't like to hear this because you guys are all strong and independent after listening to Beyonce for the past 10 years.
I listen to Beyonce.
Whatever. The point is that this feminist rhetoric and mindset of the past 20 to 30 years that women have employed to kind of like substantiate their behaviors. Oh, yeah, like I'm strong and independent. I don't need a man. I kind of have a man, because I want to. I think you guys forget that when you come into a relationship with a man, you're basically the employee. He's supposed to be the employer, assuming he's a leader like you guys want. So when you come in and deal with this guy, sure, you were one way when you met him, but then it's on you to change and get on his program so that you get wifed up. The problem is a lot of you women think, I'm going to continue to be the same person I was when I met him, and hopefully I'll get the ring. And then next thing you know, 2 years later, he's not providing for you, or he doesn't want to commit because it's complicated, or...
Look, culturally, these tunes have been informing the female psyche for a long, long time. If you're from my era, you'll remember this one. What have you done for me lately? So it ain't a new trend.
You're in a relationship and he's getting annoyed by you, right? Walking out the house. I don't think women understand that you have to change when you go with a guy, right? You want to move up the totem pole. Say, are you at a
be submissive, make sure. Look, I was doing that stuff too.
Let's say I run a, let's say I run a law firm.
You want the woman to, you want her to, like, let's. Can I finish my point?
Let me finish my point here. Let me finish my point. Okay. If you want to work at a prestigious law firm, you get hired, right? You get hired at one point.
I'm going to let him make this point and we'll move on because
more dudes are going to come to you.
It goes on in a similar loop.
You need to move up the ladder through your merit, right? Same thing with women. If a guy's very attractive and high status, a lot of people are applying to his law firm to show some level of competence and be an asset to that law firm to move up and eventually make partner. The problem is that most women think I'm going to continue to do what I've done and I should make partner. That's just not how it works. That's why so many women perpetually stay single. You guys only care about what you want, but you don't necessarily care about what the man wants. Like, for example, with you highlighted a lot of your personal careers.
Fresh and Fit, they come in for a lot of criticism and they've done very well for themselves in a short period of time. I think they play a role in the whole scheme of things and they do some good work. There's a lot of guys who probably get useful pointers from them. Now, this next video is it warms up a bit. This is
control and domination.
Yeah, this is the kind of thing that's getting men to
yesterday 13 men
rethink many traditional norms.
88 men die of heart disease. Tomorrow and every day 90,000 men will wake up in prison. And we have 2.2 million boys.
And sadly, a lot of this stuff goes unspoken about as far as the mainstream's concerned because, for good reason or historically good reason, the emphasis is on feminism, female rights, female needs, and the men's things generally tucked to the side.
living today at home with no dad. We thankfully have an excellent cabinet minister for women. We have an excellent minister for women. So will the Prime Minister meet with me to discuss the merits of the Minister for Men and Boys? Because as Warren Farrell states, one sex losers, both sex losers.
Okay. Can I say to my honourable friend that he should be commended for his tireless campaigning on this issue? He's particularly right to focus on suicide, and that's why I'm grateful for his engagement with suicide prevention strategy. It sets out the actions that we will take to reduce suicides in the coming years. But it's also a thanks partly in his campaigning that on International Men's Day, we announced that we were appointing the first men's health ambassador and launching a men's health task force. I look forward.
Now, there was a big debate about that on one of the UK TV networks, and British MP, she actually objected to it. She put it down as, why do men need a minister? And I'm more concerned with focusing on the Women's Day and this and that. Look, it's a sign of the era we're living in. You neglect something long enough, the pendulum is gonna need to swing back around the other way. This is quite interesting as well.
Men are raised by their mothers and they see it as a sign of weakness. They don't want to go around to the doctor with every little ache and pain. They think it's as a badge of courage not to say anything, so they store it all up. They
and a bit of embarrassment as well, isn't it?
Of course. What they need to know is that the doctors is the bread and butter. They will see people with anything. They're never shocked. They're never going to laugh at the patient, and men need to realise that the doctor's there for them.
Years ago, I had a time where I wasn't a good father, a good husband, or a good person to be with. And it got to the point where I was chopping logs, and I was putting the chainsaw down, thinking it'd be easier for me to just end it here.
That's bad.
It got to the point, but the thing about it was, the reason I didn't do it is I had a mobile phone in my pocket, because I thought people would then think I didn't try.
So this guy is telling his story. Something tragic and serious happened in his life, and it drove him to the point where he was considering unaliving himself. And I believe it was just the fact, as he puts it, that he had his mobile phone in his pocket, and that led him to reach out to somebody who, he's still in one piece. Thankfully, he didn't take that course of action. That's how serious it is for some men. On the flip side, this withdrawing from socializing, there are men now who are learning how to use time when they're, in their own space, and do quality activities and enjoy moments without feeling as though they always have to be performing and out there in the world trying to make some kind of pointless point. If you check out our friend Jess now, the MP, the one who I believe didn't think it was that necessary to have a representative in Parliament for men.
Got it delivered.
Burger King delivers.
Right, here we go.
Because not only do we have International Women's Day, we also have Women and Equality Questions every month in the Chamber, which we don't have for...
Oh, then let me just pause on this for a minute. Got a little technical something I need to look into.
May come up, and we will be part of International Men's Day. I'm not entirely sure why it's so humorous, but to discuss issues such as...
You have to excuse me for laughing, that the idea that men don't have the opportunity to ask questions in this place is a frankly laughable thing. As I say, as the only woman on this committee, it seems like every day...
She thinks it's laughable.
I wasn't making that point. I wasn't making the point that men don't have an opportunity to ask. I was about men's issues. There's a very big difference between men raising issues and the raising of men's issues.
But what could raise men's
part of the
issues
problem.
in any single one of the question sessions? So your men's health, absolutely. So prostate cancer, that could be raised in men's questions, couldn't it? That could be raised in...
Can it? That's why men are just doing their own thing, if it comes down to it.
I wonder
and
why
this will be a continuing trend.
There's a woman in Florida who was a cop. She was 25 years old. She pretended to be a high school student, made friends with this boy. He thought it was his girlfriend, and she talked him into selling her pot, and then she arrested him. That only works when you have a 17-year-old boy and a 25-year-old woman. If you had a 25-year-old man throw your 17-year-old daughter, and then he gets her to sell him pot, and then he arrests her, there would be people lining the fucking street with.
You see the contradiction?
I don't support men's rights advocates or the establishment of men's groups and whatnot. You know, there's this whole view now that traditional views of masculinity actually make men suffer. We're not allowed to share our feelings. We're not allowed to cry. We keep all of our emotions bottled up. We suffer in silence. So men are now being encouraged to share their stories, share their pain, and so on. Stop bottling it up, we're told. Well, I don't agree with any of that. This isn't how men are built. We do not benefit from sympathy. Compassion is like kryptonite to us. This whole trend is an imposition upon men of what works for women. You all like to talk about your feelings, share your pain, sympathy,
exactly.
A good cry. All of that helps you cope and move on with your life. That's great for you. But this is the opposite of what works for men. Sympathy just makes us weaker and less able to cope. Sharing our feelings resolves nothing for us and just ends up making us feel trivialized. Because what we feel deeply, and it doesn't go away by talking about it. It just becomes another random topic of conversation and it feels like short shrift. Women act like if you express your emotions, that's the same as resolving them. We bottle up our feelings, we bottle up our emotions, because for us, that's where they belong. Verbalizing them is not the same thing as working through them. We work through them internally and carry on with our lives in the meantime. We only allow them to disrupt us on the inside because external peace and tranquility are too important for us in the rest of our life. And as for sympathizing with the pain or our difficulties that we're dealing with, talking about how hard life is doesn't make it any easier. It is hard and it's going to stay hard. And we just have to get used to it and deal with it and carry on. We cannot afford to indulge in self-pity. People who are dependent upon and who provide strength and security for those around them can't afford to complain. You carry your own water and it's no one else's problem. That's the attitude that we need to maintain in order to be able to function properly. It's absurd to take the advice of women on something like this. They are not men. They can't do what we do or be what we are. So the way we are seems unhealthy to them. But it's the only way we can function that's healthy for us. So if you're a woman and you want to help the men in your life with whatever they may be going through, just let them know that they are appreciated. Know that they are grappling with things, with feelings, with pain, with doubt, with responsibilities, and just appreciate them. Jazakumullahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum.
So, there you have it. And that's where we wrap it up. I hope some of that was useful for someone, be you male or be you female, and particularly to the guys. There's nothing wrong with taking time away from being with other people and socializing and, you know, putting out all of that energy, resources, and often finance, you know, holding back a little bit on some of that and just taking time for yourself, doing what you need to do, enjoying your activities, and then when you're ready in your own time, getting back out there. So for now, as per usual, you've been here with Owen Uadier at Corner Speak. Be good, be safe, and be creative. We out.